Good morning, folkers. Snapzilla Gorilla, aka The Definition, hitting y'all with another video. Now, today, I want to talk about these two California doctors, right? That came out and spoke about how we are overblowing and overreacting to the COVID-19 pandemic. How it's just about as deadly or less deadly than the seasonal flu, which we don't lock down for. We don't lock down for it. We don't close shit down for it. We don't violate people's rights for it. I mean, we violate people's rights in general, right? The government. They violate people's rights every day. But they don't go all out like this for the flu, which has killed 80,000 people in 2018. All right? So, I'm going to go through this video. You know, this is a big deal. These doctors are going viral. And I feel like I need to talk about it and bring my viewpoint to it, bring my perspective to the situation. So we're going to go through it. They say a lot of right things, but then they say some things that I don't agree with for a very simple reason. So let's go into it.
For what? I'm saying the secondary causes of what we're seeing oil shut down. We have predictable negatives from lockdown. Predictable negatives. Corona has unpredictable negatives.
No, I see what you're saying. I mean, it sounds like you're saying you actually have some data to look at now, and in the beginning we didn't really know, but now we can draw some conclusions.
And those conclusions that you guys were able to draw, really the entire nation, do you think, respectively, the numbers are low in those ratios that you were mentioning, the fatality versus how many people have them, because we've been social distancing? No, you don't think it's because since we started doing these, that those models that Warren County Health shows how effective social distancing is, that's all false?
But that's why we went over Sweden and Norway. We went over Sweden and Norway because you have lockdown, no lockdown. Sweden, no lockdown. Norway, lockdown. That's 10 million, that's 15 million people. We have the data. That's what I just went over with you. Lockdown.
I love this part. I love how he's talking to him like a child. Like, look, I told your monkey ass that lockdown does not help. It does not affect the numbers of deaths. Period. Okay? I like that part. He was right on the money with that one. It's this doctor right here on the right that I really don't agree with on certain issues, and I'll explain why once we get into that.
Drastically different testing standards and metrics. Norway is basically testing everybody. Sweden, they're only testing you if you identify on hospital.
No, that's not correct. They're not testing everybody.
Now you see how the media is trying to frame certain things. How they're saying, Norway and Sweden did this, they did that, and these doctors are like, nah, nigga, they did not do that. Pardon the N-word. Free speech and all that. So, this just goes to show how the media, it doesn't matter who they're talking to. If they don't agree with that person doesn't know what they're talking about. They know everything. They know more than the experts. They know more than this. They know more than that. Okay? Now, I don't appeal to authority, right? Which is a fallacy that people often commit when they say, well, this expert says this expert says that, without going and vetting the information themselves. But when a person, because you can't just trust what an expert says, right? They're going to tell you what they feel. They can have confirmation bias. All kinds of things can happen. They're human beings. Experts are human beings at the end of the day. So it's always a good idea to go and check the information out yourself and draw your own conclusions based on what you've found in your research. Okay? Because it's very important to look at things objectively. All right?
5.5 million Norwegians, but their testing is much more widespread.
The bottom line is, from those of us who study it and have a background in this, is lockdown versus non-lockdown does not produce a statistically different number of deaths. That is the bottom line.
That we know.
See that? He said, for those of us who study this and do this right here, we see that isolation, social distancing does not correlate, or it does not mean that it doesn't change the death rate, whether you do it or not. Okay, that's basically what he's saying. Now, I'm not going to just say, oh yeah, he's right, just because he said something that I believe. No, it's because I have done the research, I have looked into this, And yes, based on the information that's out there, he's right. If you look at Norway and Sweden, lockdown, no lockdown, there's no significant variation, or there's no divergence in the deaths in those two countries. Those are facts. So I'm not just going to say, oh, he's right just because I feel like they're overblowing or they're over exaggerating this whole situation. Is because I agree with this information because I saw the same information he saw, and I know how to read and I know how to comprehend. I may not be an expert in the medical field, but I did take biology in college, and I do understand a little bit about this type of shit. And I do know how to read and comprehend. That's the most important part. If you know how to read and comprehend, then you can be just as versed as an expert in a certain thing. All right? Let's keep going. Whoa.
I guess what I'm trying to cross-reference is I hear our president, I hear our governor say social
They tried to hit me with them
distancing
frequencies.
is working. And you guys are saying it's not needed. So I guess that's what I'm trying to wrap my head around. Like, why is that?
It was needed initially.
Are they lying? Are they lying?
It was needed initially.
You see that?
They actually, we both agree with exactly what they did initially because we didn't know. It was an unknown.
Now, this is where you draw a line, okay? He's saying that the lockdown was needed initially, but the doctor before him just said that Sweden never locked down, Norway never locked down. So obviously, it wasn't needed, right? But he's saying that it was needed because it was an unknown. Now, understand what a lockdown is. When you're talking about locking something down, you're talking about by force. You're talking about under the color of law. You're talking about government functionaries and enforcers going out and making sure you're being locked down, violating social distancing guidelines while doing so. You're talking about sending jackbooted Gestapo out on the streets to make sure your ass is staying in the house or you just going grocery shopping. I don't care what's going on. I don't care what threat is facing us or what threat we're facing. We as free people do not, you can't lock us down, right? It goes against liberty. It goes against freedom. It's very anti-freedom to lock people down because there is a disease out there that you don't have a grasp on yet. I don't care what's going on, because what ends up happening is you lock people, and these doctors are aware of this. You keep people locked in their homes, you keep them out of the sun, you make them wear masks, you're compromising their immune system. See how contradictory this is? You're compromising their immune system by locking them down, but you feel like they should be knocked down initially. Okay, so who determines the length of that initial lockdown? Who determines that? Who determines when it's over? Who determines how stringent or how strict it needs to be? You see, this is why you don't lock people down in the first place, because it's a slippery slope. You go down that road and you don't know where it can end, especially with these power-hungry politicians, with these power-hungry mayors, these power-hungry governors who found the perfect opportunity to exercise their rule, to exercise their kingship and queenship over us, using the National Health Emergency Powers Act. I might have screwed up that acronym, but y'all get what I'm saying. Oh, because of the National Health Emergency Powers Act, because somebody got anthrax in their face back in 2001, when there's a medical emergency, we can do whatever we want to the people. You see, no, you don't lock people down initially. You let them be free. You let them make a choice as adults, as human beings. You don't know what's better for these people than them. No, you give them guidelines. You give them suggestions. You give them advice based on your medical expertise. Look, guys, we don't know what this is. We don't know anything about it. We know it's a virus. We know this, that, and the third. We know it's killing people. We know it's causing pneumonia. We know it's making people pass out. We know it's doing this, that, and the third. And we do understand that people with comorbidities or underlying health conditions like diabetes, heart disease, asthma, emphysema, all these other comorbidities are more susceptible to dying from this virus. So I would suggest that you guys practice social distancing, practice isolation, self-isolation until we get this thing under control. Everybody else who feels like they're healthy, anybody else that's grown, they can go out and do what they want. You give people a choice, because guess what? Some people are going to choose to stay at home. Some people are going to choose to wear masks. Some people are going to choose to wash their hands 80,000 times a day. Some people are going to choose to douse themselves in alcohol based on, because they already been doing that. You don't sit up here and tell people, oh, stay your ass in the house, or you're going to get fined, or you're going to get handcuffed, or we're going to by force. All these people are committing crimes against us. According to U.S. Code, 18 U.S. Code 242, color of law, these people are kidnapping us, they're violating our rights, and this is punishable by jail time, by prison time, and even death, and if they kidnap you. If you're playing in the park with your daughter, and they come snatch you up because you're outside, you're violating a so-called social distancing order, then that person that kidnapped that father in front of their child needs to be locked up. That's the bottom line to it. I don't care about the science. You know what the science tells me? The science tells me that we are all born equal human beings. None of us are given special powers to exercise our will over other people. Point blank and period. That's what science tells me at the end of the day. You don't have a right to force anything onto me that I don't want based on any health concern or health crisis. I don't care. If I want to go outside, if I want to go to the beach, if I want to go to the park, if I want to ride bikes, if I want to get some sun, if I want to breathe the iodized air by the ocean, which will help boost my immune system, then I have that right. If I want to go to a clinic and get vitamin C injections to help boost my immune system in the face of this crisis so that I can do what I need to do, so I can be outside, so I can go to work, so I can do this, so I can do that, I have that right. You don't have the right to take that ability away from me because you feel like it's an unknown crisis. You don't have that right. I'm sorry. You don't. That's what the science tells me. Freedom trumps science every day. That's what science tells me. You understand? I don't care if you're an expert. I don't care if you're a cop. I don't care if you're a military guy. I don't care if you're the president. I don't care if you're David Fauci or whatever the fuck his name is, Anthony Fauci. I don't care about any of that. Pardon my language. You do not have the right to tell me I can't go outside, to tell me that I can't go outside without a mask. You don't have that right. And when all this shit is over, it will be a great idea to get lawyers to go after these people for what they did and hold them financially responsible for making us wear masks outside. Do you understand what's going on when you wear these masks? I don't think you do, because people are wearing it. What you're doing is you're breathing in your own CO2. So you exhale for a reason, right? You exhale out into the free air for a reason, so that the trees can capture the CO2 and replace it and replenish you with oxygen. When you're breathing into the mask, a lot of that CO2 gets trapped in that mask and you're breathing it back in. You're breathing it back in. Okay? So, no, initially it was not a good idea to lock people down. That was the worst possible thing you could ever do. You give people guidelines. And this is why I don't like the government, because they don't give guidelines, they give directives that everybody has to follow because democracy. Because constitutional republic. I don't care what system it is. You do not have the right to lock us down initially, afterward, during, before, 2 years later. No, you don't have the right at all to tell us that we can't go nowhere. Period. I don't care who you are. That's what the science tells me. Let's keep going.
Becoming known. Initially, when you don't know something, you're extra careful because you're fearful. It's just like when you see a patient.
Let me tell y'all something. You careful, okay? Well, be careful on your own accord. You're responsible for your life at the end of the day. And since you're responsible for your life and what you do and the things that you do and the acts that you commit, you are the master of your own destiny. I don't need this guy or David or Anthony Fauci or Birx or anybody to tell me, excuse me, how to be. They can give me guidelines. Like I said, okay, yeah, you're in fear. So guess what? If I was fearful of the virus, I don't need anybody to tell me to stay in the house. If I had a pre-existing condition and I was worried about contracting this disease and possibly dying from it, then I would, on my own, exercise my own will, and then I would stay in the house. I would be careful. But now what they have done is they have forced this on us. They have forced businesses to close down. Now we have almost 30 million people unemployed, losing their shirts. You got the city of LA trying to deliberately trying to force landlords to sell their houses for the cheap, because guess what? The tenants can't pay if the tenants can't pay the rent, the landlords can't evict them because of the California law now that they passed. And if they can't get the rent from these people, they can't pay the mortgage. And if they can't pay the mortgage, guess what? The mortgage company forces them to sell their house. And guess what? The city of LA wants to buy these cheap ass houses and move homeless people in them. So they want the landowners or the landlords to lose their properties so that they can buy the house and put homeless people in it. That's going to be another video of mine that I'm going to touch on right here in the city of LA. You see what's going on here? Come on, man. Miss me with the BS. We don't need to lock down, period. All right? Period. And now there's a class action lawsuit that is going to be going from the landlords to the city. This is ridiculous. And that's going to end up coming out the taxpayers' pocket. See, these people, let me keep going. I'm sorry.
You're sick, you test for everything because you're scared. You're fearful. But then, as you see more of those patients, you realize, hey, I know what to test for, right? It's shotgun effect versus sniper effect, right? So initially when this data came out of a new virus that's lethal, they went all out. And I think that was appropriate. But now that we have the data, we're seeing...
They went all out. You think that was appropriate? Well, if you let them go all out in the first place, it's going to be hard to pull their ass back in and get them back under control, to get the government back in line and back in step with freedom, which they have never been. They have not been in step with freedom ever, I don't think, in this country. They have not been in lockstep with freedom. But now you want to give them more control over the people initially. And what? You think they're going to pull back? You think once they get a taste of that power, once they see people are listening to them, see people are actually sitting down and doing what they're being told to do, you think it's going to be easy for the government to give us that freedom back? Come on, man. They talking about the new normal. They talking about the new normal. Man, miss me with the BS, man. Listen, these guys are saying a lot of the right things. They're saying a lot of the right things. And you take the good information from these people and you use it, and then you can take the bad information that they're giving, the horrible information, and you say, look, I don't agree with you on that. Lockdown for what? You see, I can do both. I can point out the good things they're saying and the bad things. But right now I'm focusing on the bad things because I have been talking about what these guys have been talking about for a long time since this COVID-19 thing happened. Okay? A lot more people have it than we think have it. Okay? That's what I've been saying. There's not enough testing. There's not been enough testing. More people have it, and that significantly lowers the rate of the death. And they're inflating the numbers. They're padding numbers on purpose. I don't need these guys to tell me that. They're confirming it, but they're also giving you bad information, which is muddying the waters. They muddy the waters, and it destroys our argument because these guys are experts. They're saying what we want to say, and they're saying what they want to say. So guess what? We got to compromise a little bit on freedom. If we go with what these guys are saying, then we have to compromise on our freedom. Oh, well, let's lock down initially. Every time there's an outbreak, every time there's a new bug, every time this, that, and the third happens, let's lock down initially. No. Good. You guys said some good shit. These doctors said some good things. Okay. And you said some horrible things. You said some things that don't make no sense. You just told us that staying in the house and wearing masks when we're outside, not getting any sunlight, not being around other people, not exposing ourselves to the environment with which we have to live in which we have to live is compromising our immune system. So you know that locking down initially is not going to work. So why are you telling people that? You see what I'm saying? Nah, man, I'm not rolling.
97% of patients completely recover. And those 4 patients that died...
See, he just said some good things right there. He just said the right thing. 96% of patients survive, okay? And the 4 that don't have comorbidities. And if they die, they might have died from the comorbidities in the first place. But because they had COVID-19, guess what? It's a COVID-19 death.
80% comorbidities. Let's run through that one more time. Out of 100 people, if 96 do fine, the 4 that die, 90% of those 4 have comorbidities. Heart failure, emphysema, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus. They're on immunomodulating medications. They're immunodeficient, HIV. These are the people that are dying. You get some healthy people that die, but that's an infinitesimal number. Tiny.
Facts.
So you think that differentiates?
Just like with the flu. Healthy people can die from it, but it's very rare. It's infinitesimal. Healthy people can die by getting hit by a car. Healthy people's hearts just stop. They just stop. They're exercising. They're eating right. They're doing the right thing. They don't have a pre-existing condition. And sometimes the heart just says, all right, man, I'm done with you. Boom. It just stops. It stops beating. As a matter of fact, now don't hold me to this, but I got to find a study. There's a study that shows that white people who work out 6 times a week as opposed to black people who work out 6 times. So white people are more likely to die faster working out 6 times a week than black people that work out 6 times a week. I don't know what it is about that, but I got to find a study. But some people just die. Some people just, listen, my wife's friend in Colorado, she died last week. Okay? It broke her up. It broke my wife up. She lives in Colorado, and her husband said that she was standing there, and then 1 minute, and next minute she just collapsed and died. Her heart stopped. Just boom. Just like that. He tried to resuscitate her. Paramedics came. She was dead when they arrived. She had no underlying health conditions, none of that. Guess what? She don't have COVID-19. She just dropped dead. Rest in peace to her. But guess what? Her brother died the same way. Years ago. Her brother died the same way. Heart just stopped. Just like that. It happens to healthy people. So we can't say, oh, initially lock us down. Every time somebody gets sick, come on, man. Oh, let's lock down. Man, come on. And I told y'all about the study that showed that damn near did I talk about that? Well, anyway, 400,000 people, back when we thought we had 7,000 cases in California, it might have actually been 400,000, up to 400,000 people. Now it's going to be significantly more, maybe in the millions. Have it, if it is what they say it is. And that's one thing we got to remember. Is it what they say it is? But anyway, let's see.
The conclusions that you doctors are drawing versus them is because they are academics or something along that line. What you're
Well, I think we're in the weeds. We work with this every single day, and the numbers don't make sense to us. And they don't make sense to ER physicians and physicians all over the country. It's not just us.
Facts.
So, my final question.
See, you say some good stuff too. See, he's right. There's a lot of doctors saying that the numbers don't make sense. And we know why they don't make sense. Because they're attaching COVID-19 deaths to people who did not die from COVID-19. It's simple as that.
Thank you guys. So just please keep your first or last name or spelling, please. Your first or last name or spelling, please. Thank you, sir.
Dan Erickson, that's DANERICKSON.
So that's all I got. Freedom, Trump science. Point blank and period. That's how I feel about it, because guess what? If you allow science to dictate when we should be free, then we won't. Then they'll say, "Oh, we can't have gasoline. Oh, we can't be out in the sun because guess what? The sun can give you skin cancer. You can't go swimming in the ocean because it's contaminated with nuclear waste. Oh, then we don't let them go in the ocean. Oh, you can't live near a fault line because guess what? Science dictates there's going to be an earthquake and you could die from it. If you allow science to dictate how we can live and what freedoms we have, come on, man. But like I said, I'm going to take the great information they put out here, because they did put out some great information about the fake numbers, but then they contradicted themselves when they said they should initially lock down, even though they acknowledged that staying locked down compromised your immune system. So which one is it? So anyway, they said some great things. I appreciate a lot of the great things they said, but at the end of the day, they're calling for testing, okay? They're calling for massive testing, and they're calling for initial lockdowns. Come on. What if we don't want to be tested? How about that? I don't want to be tested for COVID-19. How about that? I don't want to be in their database for any reason whatsoever. Okay? I'll be in the database for what I want to be tested for. I'll be tested for. I don't want to be tested for that. I don't get tested for the flu. I don't get tested for flu antibodies. Why do I have to get tested for COVID-19 antibodies if they're acknowledging that it's the same mortality rate or even less? So I just want people to pay attention to everything people are saying and not just ride the coattails of certain people. You take the information that they present that's good and or what you appreciate, and the other stuff you leave it where it is and you expose it. That's what I'm doing. I'm taking the great information they put out there. I'm acknowledging it. I'm acknowledging these guys are giving out good information. But at the end of the day, these are doctors, Western doctors, that are beholden to big pharma. At the end of the day, they're beholden to big pharma. And the reason I believe that some of these doctors are coming out, they can't avoid it. There's too much information floating out there. You cannot. It's not. The subterfuge can only last so long. So of course, they're going to say, "Oh well," they have to come out with the information so they can get ahead of it. That's what they do. They get ahead of the blowback by putting out the information that people are finding out that they didn't want to find out in the first place. Anyway, that's all I got for now. Much love to you guys. Share, like, subscribe, and y'all tell me what y'all think in the comment section. Do you think that science trumps freedom? Do you believe that we should have been locked down initially, even though they just told us that staying cooped up in the house and not breathing fresh air by wearing a mask is compromising our immune system? What do you guys think? And let me know in the comment section. Or do you think I'm wrong? Do you think we should always lock down every time flu season comes in? We should lock down for the first 2-3 weeks. What do you guys think? Okay, I'm gonna let y'all form your own opinion, and we'll go from there. Anyway, much love to y'all. Peace out.